express now, Nick, what sounds like a somewhat wishful speculation of a hung parliament based on the Reform Party.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Yeah, it's a stark warning for Labour that Reform UK could wreck Starmer's dream of a majority. And this comes from Labour Together. And Josh Williams, this guy, is saying he's the director of Labour Together. He says something quite interesting. He says, there's a long way to go. As the old saying goes, there can be many a slip between cup and the lip. It's actually twixt. As you would know, Simon, obviously.
I have used that very often, yeah.
That doesn't surprise me at all. But, so he's saying, let's not get complacent because it could be a landslide, it could be a working majority, or it could even be, as you say, a hung parliament in certain projections, which would be interesting. And there's also soft switches to take into account. They're part of the LGBTQ. No, they're not. They're people that changed. They were going to vote, they changed back to who they normally vote for. So, yes, you hope Reform could, especially if Farage came back, they could make this impact.
But how they could have an impact, but they would surely only take voters away from the Tories. So the worst that would happen would be that they would encourage people who might be too depressed by the Tories to vote Tory, but they would come out and vote Reform. But it still wouldn't be. Well, I mean, it would be only in a seat that would otherwise have been Tory, wouldn't it?
Well, my reading of the article is that if it only would be a hung parliament if the Reform vote collapses.
Yeah.
So if Reform falls out, then there could be a hung parliament.
Or if Reform come to some sort of pre-coalition, pre-vote coalition arrangement.
Possibly,
with the Tories, you know.
But this is what they say here. So it's interesting that it's Reform that arguably is holding back more of a balanced parliament in the next election. So
we saw that in the by-election, right? If you'd added the Tories and the Reform, votes together, they would have won.
What we mainly saw was the people just refusing to vote, right? The 20,000 in Wellingborough just going, no, we're not going to vote for the Tories anymore. Yeah. And that's what's probably most likely. But like you say, it's the collapse.
Could come out. It could galvanise those people, but then they would have to come to some sort of. I mean, they do occasionally do these things, don't they? Like this kind of tactical voting arrangements beforehand.
Well, yeah, when Farage has said he'll never do that again because of how it went last time.